Hi, Booktube, it's Amy, and I'm back again reading from the Anatomy of Bibliomania by Holbrook Jackson. We're on page 256 with a section titled Reading at the Toilet. And I think in this case, toilet does not mean the throne, but rather it is reference to the dressing table, to, I suppose, the French or the European phrasing of the lady at her toilet. So here we are on page 256. Reading during the ritual of the toilet, especially that part of it devoted to the coiffing, has a long but mostly unrecorded history. Look for examples in any barber shop or hairdressing saloon, for they are among the traditional news centers of our common people and the focus of gossip. It is the custom not only to exchange news and views in such resorts, but to read the papers while waiting your turn, as the saying is, or during the operation itself. Every bookman, and most ordinary men, knows how fruitful in meditation are the solitary moments of the toilet, when we are faced only by our own soapy visages. George Wyndham committed Shakespeare's sonnets to memory while shaving, and many others have found this operation productive of literary memories, which are a kind of reading by proxy of the imagination. And that's interesting. Literary memories as reading by proxy of the imagination. For to remember is as profitable as to reread. On Salome's dressing table and Aubrey Beardsley's picture of her toilet and its ritual are copies of Zola's Nana, The Golden Ass of Apuleius, Manin Lescaut, Fête Galante, and the works of the Marquis de Sade, which are clearly his personal choice of books for such a lady at such a time. Although Helen does not read before the toilet table, which was so like the altar of Notre Dame des Victoires, the omission was surely an oversight on the part of Beardsley, for the scene was most appropriate for dalliance with such books as he provided for Salome. She should have toyed with Apuleius as the coiffeur Cosme was caring for her scented chevalier, and with tiny silver tongs warm from the caresses of the flame, making delicious intelligent curls fall as brightly as a breath around her forehead and above, or rather over her eyebrows, to cluster finely like tendrils round her neck. Or she might have fluttered appropriately the fragrant pages of an 18th century edition of Dorrit as her three favorite girls, Poppelard, Blanchmans, and Lorraine, attended her with perfume and powder in delicate flacons and frail cassolettes, and held in porcelain jars the ravishing paints prepared by Chatelaine for those cheeks and lips that had grown a little pale with anguish of exile. She might have assessed the shameless confidences of Ertino as her three favorite boys, Claude, Claire, and Sarrasine, stood amorously about the salver fan and napkin, and Millamont held a slight tray of slippers, and Minette some tender gloves, and La Popliniere, mistress of the robes, a frock of yellow and white, and La Zambinella, the jewels, and Florizel, some flowers, and Amador, a box of various pins, and Vadius, a box of sweets, whilst her doves, ever in attendance, walked about the room that was panelled with the gallant paintings of Jean-Baptiste Durat, and some dwarfs and doubtful creatures sat there, here and there, lolling out their tongues, pinching each other, and behaving oddly enough. But I am forth on my subject again, and must return from this Baroque paradise. More to the point is Mrs. Belfour's account of a lady who was reading to a party of 2 or 3 the 7th volume of Clarissa, whilst her maid curled her hair, and the poor girl let fall such a shower of tears upon her lady's head that she was forced to send her out of the room to compose herself. On being asked why she cried, she answered, "To see such goodness in distress," whereupon a lady followed her out of the room and gave her a crown for that answer. Or there is the classical reference to Pliny the Elder having books read to him while he was being rubbed and wiped in the bath. Samuel Pepys records, see his diary under December 22nd, 1662, that having reached home and presently shifted himself, so had the barber come, and my wife and I to read Ovid's Metamorphoses, which that night he had brought home for her from St. Paul's churchyard. And that is the end of that rather short section on reading at the toilet. The next section here is titled Reading at Meal Times, followed by one of my favorite places to read, Reading in Bed. But we'll close the book here on page 258 for today.